So check this out. This has been a long time coming. Something that bugs me is that I see, and it's not necessarily like I'm mad at these people. I just think it's unfortunate. There's so many successful people. I'm thinking the fitness industry because that's the industry I'm in. But so many successful people. They say, everyone thinks it happens overnight and it's an overnight success and blah blah blah. But what they didn't see is all the work that went into it and all the struggles and things that went wrong or whatever. It's like, I get it. I mean, that's cool, and like we all look up to that. But I'm always thinking, like, where the fuck is the footage of those struggles, right? Like, what the like, we know they happen, but people don't get to see like what it's like. I started this out of my basement, or I was having trouble paying the rent, or this or that. And, like, people say all these things, and again, like, we all can kind of imagine what that might be like, but it's a lot different actually getting to see it, right? Like, what does that look like? How are they acting? How is their mood? You can probably tell right now I'm in a pretty upbeat mood, but definitely there would be many times where you'd catch me in a shitty mood. So the point being, when I started my podcast and started a lot of this stuff, quit my day job, I had a little private group at one point. For all I know, I'm probably double chinning here, right? Sitting there laying down. But, sorry. But so it's like, I did all that stuff and I wanted to like document it, take people along for the ride. I knew there was going to be lots of fuck ups. I knew there was going to be lots of mistakes. I knew it was probably going to get into a tight position and stuff. And I wanted people to see all that. But I mean, it's funny. Like, I think some people, they have too much pride, right? They don't want to show that. It's embarrassing. It's whatever. Dude, I could give a shit what anyone thinks about me. I really don't have any problem with that. But I guess, like, I couldn't really explain why, but there's just always reasons that I kind of struggled and didn't do that. And I think what I finally came to realize, so recently I interviewed Dave Tate, the CEO of Elite FTS, on my show. And I was kind of like, Dave, like, how do you decide, because he was mentioning in a previous interview or whatever, like, hey, it's important for people to see your journey and be able to relate to stuff. And I'm like, so how do you balance that, right? Like, how much you share and how much you don't. And basically what came out of that was he was kind of saying, like, dude, like, as a business, you can't be sharing all the fuck ups and struggles and your vulnerabilities and stuff because your competition's watching and, could insert themselves. So after hearing that, I guess it kind of verified for me, like, okay, this inclination you had all this time, like, I better not, for some reason I just feel like I shouldn't be sharing this, is probably correct. And so I'm glad that I heard that. But on the flip side, it also still like left this kind of emptiness. Like, I want people to see how fucking fucked up this can be. And I was watching documentary on certain individuals. I don't want to call him, it's nothing against him, but them talking about exactly all these things, like, people, what they didn't see is this, they didn't see that, whatever, last night. And finally I was like, dude, fuck no, like, hell no, man. Like, it's time that someone shows this shit. So I'm like, starting tomorrow, I'm going to randomly document a lot of this shit. It may not get shared for 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, but at least I've documented it. So then that way, when I look back and I'm like, people didn't realize this, I could just fucking show them, right? And I can coach people through it. I can see all the fuck ups and mistakes I made. Like, I can just see all of it, right? And it would be so much more meaningful and so much more vivid. And I would love to be sharing this right now. I really would. And I really could give two shits, kind of what everyone thinks. But reality is, as Dave Tate pointed out, that could have quite negative effects on my business, potentially. So it sounds like that probably wouldn't be, I guess, a smart thing for me to do. So anyways, currently it is, what is it today? March 19th or March 20th, 2015. And recording this, and to be quite frank with you, let's just do a very quick recap. I quit my job May, so almost a year ago, May of 2014. At that time I quit with, I would say, maybe about 15 grand in the bank, and very small inventory of the stuff that I was making, my products, my recover rollers, stuff like that. And also with a big podcast following. At that time, I mean, crap, I think I had some months where I was getting 300,000 downloads a month. Granted, I had a daily show. But so that's kind of what I quit on, right? Somehow I'm going to turn this podcast following and turn my products and everything into something bigger. I mean, I'm making money, had a small income stream, but obviously the expenses when you're starting up a lot of times are much larger. So definitely was by no means a perfect scenario to be quitting my job, far from it. And honestly, within a few weeks after that, I was offered a job for like $125,000 salary, like very good money. Wasn't making quite near that in my previous job. So, Granted, I know to some people you'd be like, oh, he left with 15 grand. Like, I don't have, but again, with the kind of expenses, with trying to get things started up with a physical products business where you're inventing new things from scratch, et cetera, getting to trade shows, events, all that stuff. Like, sorry, that isn't shit. That's hardly any money. But, anyways, so that's what I did, right? I could go on and on, all kinds of different mistakes I've made, people I should or shouldn't have been involved with, things I should or shouldn't have pursued more, many of which I'm sure someone would say, if you just gotten advice from a better business person, they would have filled you in and helped you prevent them. But honestly, many of them I'm like, no, like many of them were good advice from people that supposedly know about business or whatever. And I'm not even saying they didn't know what they were doing. But just I think the more I get in this, I come to realize like the people that are just like, there's no strategy, you don't need a plan, you just fucking do it and something happens, like that's kind of bullshit. And then the people also that are like, oh well, I'm a very sophisticated businessman, let me tell you, it's like, dude, fucking get over yourself. Like, come on. There is no way that you can guarantee me that the steps you took and how you did things are going to work in this scenario. I'm sorry, but it's just proven itself time and time again to where at this point, I don't mean to say like I don't give a shit what anyone says or I don't take anyone's advice. It's not that, but I just have to be leery. I have to kind of filter it all. Just like, taking training information from someone or something, right? You're just kind of putting it all through a filter, taking what you want, discarding what you don't think is going to work, or just trying it all with a grain of salt. So that's where I'm currently at. I guess a big motive for a good kind of turning point for me doing this is up until, honestly, just the last couple of days, for the last few months, many months, I don't know, eight months, something like that. I've been involved with a business partner, close friend, and at the time that whenever I release this video, I'm sure it would be perfectly fine for me to say who it is, but at this time I can't. So, but anyways, we've been involved. Just unfortunately, I'm not seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. I think honestly, in my opinion, I apologize to you individually, you may not agree, but I think a lot of it's personality clash because we have so many things in common. I often feel like so many things we disagree on or get angry that the other does. I'm like, it's exactly what you're doing as well. So how does this make any sense? So maybe we're just not meant to be together. But long story short, we've both put a lot of money into things. He's made a lot of capital investments, and I do genuinely feel badly that we're parting ways and those investments have been made towards the business. But ultimately, I think it's in the best interest of both of us, and he's starting to see opportunities to direct those investments towards other business avenues, and I'm seeing a little more clearly how I need to, I guess, outsource, get a lot more help, involve other people, be smarter with my pricing, be smarter with my decisions on what things I go to, whether or not there's a sufficient ROI to justify going, et cetera, et cetera. So I think ultimately this will be a good thing. So sorry, buddy, it's been real, but we're parting here. So within a couple days of me recording this, we'll be slowly making that transition to parting ways. So now the fun part starts. Going to show you guys where I'm set up currently, largely in his basement. So yes, your classic story of, hey, started in a basement. But additionally, I'm going to show you currently I'm laying in my bed here. I rent 2 bedrooms, so one's my bedroom, one's my office, and a bathroom out of a very nice home, freaking baller pad, like don't even deserve to be living here, but very nice landlord, very reasonable rent, so this is where I'm at. Very good, convenient location too. Sorry, I'm playing with my eye here. So, to be quite frank with you, it's a very interesting dynamic. I think people, if they were to show right now what I'm about to show you, in these next little bits of video I'm going to show, they would be like, oh, like, I think people are like, fuck, if only everyone knew, like, right? Bossy's running a business out of his bedroom and out of his friend's basement and out of a storage garage and et cetera, et cetera. He's assembling fucking watches in his office, like, but you got to start somewhere, right? And so I'm sorry, but to me, I'm like, this is where it's like everyone else is like, I can't do it because I don't have an office or I don't have a warehouse or I don't have this or don't have that. And it's like, as Rob Bailey would say, we're doing it. Like, I just fucking do it. And granted, when I left the job completely, had that initial money and stuff, yeah, I could have rented myself an office space or rented a little warehouse space, or of course. But it didn't seem like that was the best way to direct funds. It seemed like I could get by with my house, with my friend's place, with this garage that I'm probably going to show you later, that I'm renting. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend my money that way. I'd rather spend that on booth fees and travel to spread the word and get out what I'm trying to do. So, but frankly, so right, started about 15K, a little bit of inventory, numerous mistakes I could go over, numerous things of not accurately calculating the ROI and travel. But dude, I'm just gonna be real with you. So currently, I sit about in the, and see, I probably should know the exact answer to this, but in the vicinity of about $7,500 in credit card debt, which has never happened. I was raised in one of those families where it was like you don't under any circumstances borrow money. Well, maybe student loans, but you don't take money, you don't borrow money, you don't take credit cards, you don't go into debt. Like total no-no, right? And granted, that's still kind of my mindset. It bugs me, but at the end of the day, I'm like most people would always again say, I don't have the capital, I don't have the way to do it. So they would take a small business loan. Honestly, that's probably the smart thing I should have done for two reasons. One, it would keep me on my toes in terms of like they'd constantly be barking down my door like, dude, where's our thing? Where's your books and all that, right? And I've been honestly to this point not very good with those things. Poor at accounting and stuff. So that would help me. And honestly, some of you watching this are probably like, well, no fucking shit, dude. That's why you're in this predicament business wise. Whatever. That's a reasonable argument, but again, at the end of the day, I think most of the events, expos I've attended, this and that, like it just kind of comes with the territory of getting something started. But whatever. So, so what I did prior to quitting, I don't necessarily know if this was the best advice, but it was the advice I got at the time. A guy, kind of business mentor, told me, dude, you should get yourself a bunch of credit cards just in case you need them, right? So up until now, up until recently, the recent few months, I've been using them to just rack up a shit ton of airline miles. It's allowed me to travel free a bunch of times, both business, both personal, like been awesome, right? But unfortunately, now I am at that point where you're like, fuck, now I'm using them to basically spend money I don't have. But then again, I every once in a while stop and say, well, how is that any different than if you took a business loan? Unfortunately, credit cards are higher interest. The business loan would have been lower interest. I guess one good thing about that is now that I got that fucking interest building up, that's you better hurry up and figure your margins and costs and all that crap out pretty damn fast or you're going to get swallowed. So I kind of, I guess in a way, welcome that pressure. It's funny as I'm saying a lot of this, I'm like, one day I may look back at this and be like, what the fuck was I talking about? But hey, I'm real, right? Let you guys hear it real right from the horse's mouth. So yeah, so I have that. Luckily, a couple of these credit cards are very low interest, and I lucked out on that. But long story short, I accumulated myself a line of somewhere in the ballpark 40, 50K of line of credit. So I do have that at my disposal. I will be getting my taxes back for 2014 very soon, which will basically, without getting into too much detail, negate pretty much all of that debt because I do have a monstrous tax return coming because I did spend a shit ton of money this past year, which again, some justified, some just mistakes and learning what's appropriate ROI, what's a good thing to spend money on. But I'm learning, I'm taking you guys in for it. And again, like I said, many of these things I think you could view as genuine mistakes that could have been avoided with someone else's advice. But quite frankly, a lot of them, I think it's just fucking shit happens, man. And a lot of this stuff, everyone else told me or would think like, oh yeah, you'll make bank doing that, or oh, that'll work, and didn't work. So I don't really think there's any perfect sides to this. And one other thing I do want to mention